The High Court's decision to drop corruption charges against Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi has drawn criticism from across the political spectrum. C4 Centre's Sudagaran Stanley looks at how the decision could cast doubt on the government's commitment to fighting corruption.
It's really a black day for the history of our country, and especially disappointing that this has happened right under the watch of the PH and Unity government. Now, this was the government that promised a slew of reforms. This was the very government that stood up and promised that they will fight corruption with all their might. And this was the very government that promised they would ensure that there will be no meddling in the ongoing court cases and in the institution of this country. So to see this happen under them, it's really very mind-boggling. Now, if you look at this particular case, right, this Zahid's case is in the stage where the defense are actually now putting forward their defenses and arguments. So which means the prosecution has already finished, completed submitting their initial arguments, and the court has already found a prima facie case. At this particular point of time, the responsibility lies upon the defense to actually put in the evidences and say that I have evidence 1, evidence 2, evidence 3 to rebut what has been brought up by the prosecution, and therefore the judge will have to decide. So it is really unusual for the Public Prosecutor's Office at this point of time to go and actually ask for a discharge in regards to the case. And even if we want to take into argument, right, the argument, I mean, their particular reasoning that there were certain submissions made by the defense side, certain documents and evidences that they need to look through this. These particular documents and submissions that were made by the defense should be instead put in court, because now it's the defense stage, right? So put these documents, instead of giving these documents to the AGC, you put these documents into court, and the judge will look at these documents, and if your arguments are true enough, definitely you will be released. You will not be found guilty of the offences. So really, their reasoning in this entire thing does not tally with what the justice system or with what level the case is currently right now. And I think it really is on the government to really come clean on what they're actually trying to achieve and do here in this regards.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has denied involvement in the court's decision regarding the Deputy Prime Minister. However, Stanley argues that it is crucial for the government to immediately separate the powers of the Attorney General and the Public Prosecutor in order to restore public trust.
The system in Malaysia here, we know that the AG's department and the Public Prosecutor's Department is fused. And it is the AG is actually appointed by the Prime Minister on advice of the Prime Minister. He basically chooses the candidate, right? And in this particular case, although the AG, former AG Idris, was appointed by previous government, but any Prime Minister or successive government that comes upon will actually have authority over that AG, because he is basically answerable to the Prime Minister of the day. So to say that you don't have the power of influence, I think that cannot be bought. Pakatan Harapan had close to 7 months to put these reforms forward. They came in last December. It's already now close to October. They had so many months to put this in power. Had they had pushed forward this reform, the separation of powers within AG and PP, today I think they would not have faced a situation of where the current Zahid would have been walked away free from the charges that he was facing, particularly because the AG's department and the PP would have been a separate entity. They've been more independent, and the ministers or even the government of the day would have no business actually instructing them what and what not to do. So that is the biggest failure on the part of this current government currently, that they failure to implement this separation of powers within the AG and PP within this period of time that they had. So moving forward, I think this is one of the biggest demands that not only we at C4, but I think you can see this coming from every single civil society in this country, be it all other major component civil society associations, even members of the public who are calling for Anwar Ibrahim to right now seriously, it's time for him to seriously no longer delay this, but put this on the table. If you can do it in coming October sitting, then you've got to do this in public in the October sitting, because you have actually lost your credibility, to be fair, to be honest. The PH government has lost its credibility to talk about anti-corruption initiatives with this current happening in regards to the Zahid case.